If you love vocals, especially female vocals, and you want them to sound lively, sparkly, well extended, natural, you want their voice to tickle the little spot in your brain that makes you squint just a little bit in all the good ways. You want that sparkle in her voice. This is your endgame. No exception. Hey friends, Tim here. Welcome back to a video on Giz Audio. Today we have a highly requested review of the Elysian Diva. This is the newest IEM from Elysian. I've had this for a little over a week now, and I have to say that I have fallen completely in love with this IEM, to say the least. Now, I didn't want to review this thing right away simply because I wanted to get over the honeymoon phase, right? When you find your new favorite IEM, you always have this few days of honeymoon phase where you just love everything about it. You don't see any flaws at all. I wanted to get over that first to see how I truly feel about the Diva. And I have to say, after testing this for hours and hours and hours, A/Bing it with some of my most favorite IEMs in the collection as of today, I still feel exactly the same. I still am very much in love with this IEM. Now, in today's video, of course, I'll be talking about why I love this thing so much, who is it for, and also comparing it to my most favorite sets currently, the Monarch MK2 and the Anole VX. So without further ado, let's jump right into the sound signature. Now, before I begin, it's important to state that I am reviewing the Diva based off of the half bass setting. There are three bass options that comes with the Diva. Number one is the default, very little bass. Number two is the half bass, and three is a lot of bass. Out of the three, I find the half bass setting to be the best for me, but in general, I kind of love all three of them, but the second one is the most balanced to my ears, and that's the one I'm gonna be basing my review on. Starting with the bass. Now, it's important to note that this is a 6 BA setup, 6 balanced armatures, and if you've been in the hobby for a while, you know that balanced armatures are not the best reproductor of bass. Normally, that's the job of the dynamic driver or the planars, right? Dynamic drivers tend to give a much more punchier, realistic bass sounds and texture than balanced armatures. But in this case, if you would have blindfolded me and have given me the Diva to sample my first time and have me guess what driver it has, I would have guessed dynamic driver. That's how good the bass is on this. The bass here is focused on the sub bass, a little bit shy on the mid bass, but extremely well controlled. The sub bass here has nice texture. It hits really deep, and it could fool anyone into thinking that it is a dynamic driver bass. It's thumpy, it's rumbly, it feels large, again, hits very deep and satisfying. It is just really good bass. The only issue, the one single issue I have with it is that it is a little bit shy on the mid bass side. I wish it had just a little bit more mid bass, but all in all, that is super nitpicking. The rest of it is astounding. One of the best bass I've heard, and is from balanced armatures of all things. So really impressive. I don't think you'll find a better bass from balanced armatures, except for maybe like U12T as an exception. But yeah, Diva's bass, even though it is slightly bit shy in the mid bass, that's all preference of course, is a phenomenal bass. And that's not even talking about the level of details that's hidden in these small little BAs here. The speed is fast, the attack is sharp, the decay is just right. So each bass hits and notes never smear whatsoever. It's smooth sounding, natural, big feeling, highly detailed, dynamic, just incredible bass. On to the mid-range, the Diva is tuned excellent here. There's virtually no bass bleeding into the mid-range whatsoever. It is nice, neutral, natural sounding with a lot of energy in the upper mids, but never too much, never shouty. It is just at the summit of what is possible in upper mid-range energy without ever crossing the line. Vocals are so lively, they're so forward, they're so full of life. Just the tuning of the mid-range alone is done to excellency. I don't think I can even find something to nitpick if I were to even try to nitpick this thing. Really clean, lower mid-range to the most energy you can grab in the upper mids. Vocals will sound incredible to you when you listen to the Diva. It's actually probably the most incredible sounding, beautiful vocals I've ever heard. Yes. And the clarity, let's talk about the overall clarity of the vocal area. It is just transparent. You get every little details of their voice. It's not hidden behind anything. The range here is tuned so well that the vocals just feel like they stand alone in the song, and you get everything that's coming out of the mouth of each singer. I think I've gushed over the mid-range enough. Let's move on to the treble. The one thing that makes the vocalist or the mid-range instrument sound so darn good is the treble area, and my god, this is possibly the best sounding treble out there on the market today. That was the first thing that grabbed my attention about the Diva, is that the treble is so well extended, it is sparkly, there's a lot of energy here. Again, never just touching the sibilance line. I have a couple songs that are sibilance on pretty much every IEM that I own. I tested it on the Diva. It still sounds so sparkly, so lovely, but never sibilancy, never fatiguing, smooth all the way through. Female vocals, flutes, and any instruments that live in this range just carries over so just it's like a flowing river. It's just unexplainably good. And if it sounds like I am just in dreamland with this IEM, keep in mind I've already went through the honeymoon phase. I went through all the testing phase. I've tested it against everything that I own and love till today. And these are still my thoughts. So no, not in honeymoon phase anymore. This is genuine thoughts backed by a lot of testing. But yes, back to the treble area. The extensions and the amount of treble you get here is just right to carry all the sparkle you'll ever need without ever fatiguing you in any way. For most people, even the sensitive ones, you guys will enjoy the treble on the Diva. Oh, I forgot to talk about micro details. Of course, when it comes to treble, we have to talk about micro details. How much does the Diva highlight? Well, with the amount of treble that you get, you don't have to worry at all. You get a lot of micro details. Those sparkly notes, those cymbal hits, those little nuances that you get in each song, they're gonna come at your face. Not too much, not offensive in any way, but you'll hear everything. On to technical performance, level of details. This thing lands right under the Anole VX. The Anole VX is still unsurprisingly the detailed king. As much as I would love to gush about the Diva being perfect in everything, it is not perfect in everything, just like no other IEMs are perfect in everything. The VX still reigns supreme in overall resolution. The Diva though is still in-game level, being just a point shy of the VX. Soundstage wise, I would say the height and the depth department is on point. It has a grand presentation, so when you listen to orchestras, you really feel the atmosphere in the room. The depth is really deep as well. There's great instrumental layering across the board. Now, when it comes to the stage width, how wide it is, I would say it is still in-game level wide, but it's not as wide as some of the other end games that I've tried. The Anole VX, the Monarch MK2, the Sony IR-C1R all have a wider feeling width than the Diva. Not to say the Diva is lacking in any way. When we're comparing endgame IEMs, it's really like minute differences we're talking about. Although those IEMs I mentioned does have a wider feeling stage than the Diva, it's only wider by like, you know what I mean? Very, very little. Next, let's talk about the imaging capability of this. I already talked about the instrumental separation, instrumental layering. The Diva is on point, great across the board. Imaging wise is what you'll expect from an IEM of this price that's actually worth the price. The imaging is precise, is pinpoint. Every instruments come across on their own. They're not smearing into each other. They don't feel too close to each other. It is just cut, clean, precise. So with all of that being said, it sounds like it is a 99.99% positive IEM. Timmy, that sounds impossible. What about the flaws? Why shouldn't I buy the Elysian Diva? Well, number one reason not to buy the Diva is if you really love bass. You want mid bass, you want strong mid bass, and you're listening to a lot of songs that are more focused on the low end, or you want a bit of warmth in the tuning, then the Diva is absolutely not gonna be your favorite IEM. The bass quality is super nice, yes, but if you really want every hits and slam to be front and center like a lot of IEMs that has good mid bass can do, the Diva is a bit shy of that. Not that it doesn't have mid bass, it does, but it's not gonna be as strong of a mid bass presentation like, for example, a C1R can do or a Monarch MK2 can do. The Diva is a sub bass focused IEM. Mid bass, a little bit shy. So if you love mid bass and you need mid bass in your IEM, then the Diva is not gonna be the best one. Reason number two, you want a more relaxed presentation. The Diva is anything but relaxed. You get maximum amount of upper mid-range and treble energy you can get that's still listenable, but it does come with that lively and forward and almost in-your-face factor. Not shouty, but just really forward in-your-face vocals that some people may not enjoy. Some may prefer a more relaxed upper mid-range, a more relaxed treble area in general, more focused on the warm or low end maybe. So for those people, you guys might prefer something else other than the Diva. And that's pretty much it for the reason not to buy the Diva. It really boils down to your preference in tuning. When it comes to details, technical performance side of things, the Diva is absolutely no slouch. For the price, you get exactly what you pay for. You buy in-game, pay in-game, you get in-game. So with the review out of the way, let's begin our comparison section. Let's start off with Diva versus Monarch MK2. Now, longtime fans of this channel is no stranger to the Monarch MK2. I have praised this a lot over the months that I have it, and I still love it a lot till today. It still ranks super highly on my ranking list, still top 2, and till today, I still think it's the best in-game IEM for the money. This is the cheapest in-game ever, $1,000. Now, what are the differences between the two? I would say it's the overall balance of things. The Monarch MK2 is slightly bit more balanced than the Diva due to it having more of that mid bass. So the upper mid range and the treble on the Monarch MK2 is going to be a little bit less lively, a little bit more tamed and relaxing in comparison to the Diva. Now, vocals still come across plenty lively on the Monarch MK2. Female vocals are still beautiful on the Monarch MK2, but on the Diva it's just its specialty. It sounds more lively and more beautiful on the Diva, while the Monarch MK2 does the low end better than the Diva. Detail retrieval wise, these two are the same. Both in-game quality, imaging, precise. Soundstage wise, the depth department is pretty much similar. Width wise, I would say the Monarch is slightly a bit wider. So the big question is, which one should you grab between these two? I would say if you love vocals, if you know you love this genre of music and you care mostly about that, then the Diva is absolutely the choice to pick. But if you listen to a wider variety of genres, you don't really care specifically for vocals, you also love a lot of bass, you also love a really good, nicely balanced low end, then the Monarch MK2 is gonna be the safer choice. It's balanced and it plays every genre really well. The Diva, it's also very versatile in its own right, but it does have a specialty, and the specialty is just the highs, the upper mid range, the treble. It's the best at it. And if you love that, then get the Diva. Next, we have the Diva versus the Anole VX. Now, the Anole VX to me is, oh, man, I love and hate this. Yes, I love and hate it. I love it because it's so good. The level of details on this is still leaps above the other IEMs that I've tried. And the reason I hate the VX is because it is just that good. I can't get rid of it. I miss the VX when I don't hear it, and when I compare it to everything else, it just makes me love the VX even more. So yes, a love and a hate for the exact same reason. But the one thing that the Diva does better, actually there's several things that the Diva does better. Number one being the tonal balance. The Diva is much more balanced than the Anole VX. The Anole VX, especially in the treble area, can be a lot. And for some people, that is a big no-no. The bass texture on the Diva is also better than the VX. The VX has super fast bass. You get every detail off the bass, yes, but you don't get that meaty, full, rumbly low end with this. You just get all the bass, all the details, every hits. You hear it with distinction, but you don't get that lifelike bass feeling at concert. You're not gonna get that with the VX, just purely details. But with the Diva, you get that. The lows, the bass is natural, it's rumbly, it's big. The Diva's bass is much more satisfying than the VX. And needless to say, when it comes to which one has the more natural, beautiful, delicate vocals, is the Diva. The upper mid-range and especially the treble on the Diva is handled much more smoothly and much more enjoyable than on the Anole VX. So again, we ask, why should you buy the VX or why should you buy the Diva over the VX? So the VX is just detail. It's just a lot of detail. That's the one thing it does super well. That's the one thing it specializes at, is sheer amount of resolution. You'd be surprised to hear the VX. It is the best in the world for a reason in this department. So if you want that, that sounds great to you, then the VX is one that you need to experience. But if you want something that's not gonna be so aggressive and in your face while still having in-game level detail, soundstage, and imaging, and not to mention again, of course, the world-class tuning that this has, then the Diva is the way to go. It's a much more smoother, easy to love, easy to listen to signature that has its own flair as well. The upper mids and the treble, like I said, there's no other IEM that does that part better than the Diva that I've personally tried. So these two IEMs, I would say, are both specialists in their own way, while the Monarch MK2 is more of an all-rounder, just anything goes on the Monarch MK2. The Anole VX is if you want just the best detail in the world, and the Diva if you want to experience the best vocals you can ever hear in this lifetime. All right, that is it for this review today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I've given you guys all the information I can to help you guys make the purchase decision. All in all, the Elysian Diva is one of those IEMs that just completely impressed me, and that's really hard to do because I own a lot of endgame set that everyone talks about. I own the C1R, I own the U12T, both the mess. I own, of course, the ones that you saw. I've tried a lot, and very few can say it blew my mind. The VX is one of them, the Monarch MK2 is one of them as well, and now the Diva joins the party. So in my life listening to IEM, these are the top three. The Diva just joined the club. Needless to say, well worth it IEM, and a super, super high recommendation from me.